Welcome to TMZ Live. Charles here.
Mike Walters here.
So, of course, the big news, Paul Walker's tragic death over the weekend, just really shaking up a lot of people here in Hollywood. He's only 40 years old, but, dying the way he did in this fiery crash with in a sports car in Santa Clarita, which is just north of L.A., just shook everybody and shocked everyone, really. And we have now uncovered some more information about the accident. And, of course, the thing that everyone wants to know now, I mean, you look at the car, gee, I mean, it's horrible. Nothing left of this. It's a $500,000 car. And Paul, of course, was the passenger in the car at the time. His friend and business partner, Roger Rodas, was driving.
Yeah, the two had left an event. There was a charity event for the charity the two of them worked on called Reach Out Worldwide. And the two of them, we're told Paul had never ridden in the car before, and so and
this was a car, this is a car that was in their shop, a classic car, like I said, $500,000, that is not... this is unlike any car. This is not just your average sports car.
You could describe it as a race car for the streets. That's
exactly.
a legal street race car almost.
Right.
And we're told that the car kept stalling out. So Roger was like, "Hey, let me handle this." Got in the driver's seat and was like, "Hey." Paul was like, "Hey, I've never ridden in the car." They decided to go driving off, and sadly, the rest is tragic history. It's super.
And you guys should know, one of the things, we all worked on this story over the weekend on Saturday. This happened Saturday afternoon, and one of the most horrendous parts of the accident, besides the fact that it was a fiery ball of flames this car was after it hit a tree, the first responders were actually people that were at the shop. It's only about 500 yards from where the accident happened, and we actually, when we actually were on scene, we were there pretty soon after it happened, and apparently a few of his friends that saw it happen and tried to pull him out of the car. We're told that it was literally on fire, and they ran over with fire extinguishers, tried to put it out, and tried to get to Paul and Roger out of the car.
We were there, like we said, we had a camera there, and we actually spoke to one of the friends who was trying to pull Paul and Roger out of the car.
Firefighters, by the time they showed up, we were all out. There was about at least 7 extinguishers, and we were out. The fire department showed up, pulled hose, had to restrain us. They put some of the employees and myself in squad cars because we wouldn't leave the scene. We wouldn't stop fighting, trying to help. They tried to let us know to let them do their job.
What he's talking about, Neil and a few of the friends, you can see in this photograph, which is right after the accident, an officer actually holding back one of his friends. They literally had to restrain him and put him in squad cars.
The third guy in that photo, not the guy being restrained, but the other guy on the right is actually the guy in our video. You can see who was running up. The emotion that these guys had when we were on the scene was just, it was crazy. And like you said,
Gary, you were there because this happened actually you were actually in the neighborhood.
Yeah, it happened like very, very close to where I live. So, and I grew up like right around where the crash happened. So, when we went over there, they were having the charity event. They, obviously accident happened and all that, but just the craziness of just the scene. I mean, there was debris all over the place. The twisted metal around the pole of the car. I've never seen something like that. I've never seen a car twisted like that after an accident, and it just showed you. I mean, obviously they were going at a high velocity because that's the only way that could have happened.
Well, Gary, I wanted to get into that for 1 second, if we could. We've talked to some law enforcement people. We've talked to people that were there. Obviously, the first question everyone wants to know: how does something like this happen? How does he get into that situation? And what is the investigation telling us about how this crash happened and how, speed, intoxication?
Obviously, speed is the main factor right now. That's what they're investigating. That's what, that is the main theory is speed, obviously. But one of the operating theories that's going around is that there may have been a street race going on. Now, obviously, it hasn't been confirmed, and our law enforcement sources are working off of, tips and rumors that have been going around since the accident.
But they are actually investigating that.
Absolutely.
As a serious possibility.
Well, and what legitimizes it is that area, literally, and I don't know if you guys can have like a Google image of it, but the area where it happened, it's a loop. I don't know the exact length of it, maybe a quarter mile, but it's literally a loop that people race around. And in the
it's in an industrial area, so that there aren't homes around.
Correct.
So it's become, and you growing up in the area, you said that there are a lot of.
I can tell you from personal experience, I've seen races. I've seen races go down there. I've seen cars being tested out there. I've never seen anything like this, obviously. And it's we don't know if he was racing someone. The people that I talked to said he was not. Whether or not they know really what was going on the seconds before the accident.
I wanted to bring up, Gary, one more quick thing that we did find out about the accident and what could have happened. According to some specialists that know these kind of cars, there was some steering fluid.
Well, that was
nearby.
One of the guys said that he noticed after the cops opened up there, they could go back in, that it looked like by the skid marks there was a fluid burst and a trail that ended right before the straight. Now you see the skid marks before the pull in the tree it's a straight line, and the people that I spoke to said that they think that maybe some sort of fluid burst and leaked out that Roger didn't realize right before the accident, because you can see he wasn't trying to brake the car until 30 feet before he hits the tree.
He wasn't turning or swerving.
Correct.
Right.
There was
So
no donuts. There was no drifting. So he might not have known that. Let's say hypothetically it was power steering fluid or something like that. He wouldn't have been able to make that turn at such a high speed.
Hello. Hi, I was a witness. I was at the charity event. I was actually there with Paul.
You were there that day. Did you see Paul and Roger drive out?
Yes, I was there. Actually, Paul was getting ready to leave because he got in his own car. And he stopped his car, he got out, and he walked towards the Porsche. And he got into the passenger seat.
So were you still there when the accident happened? Were you still at the event?
Yeah, I was there. I was there till about 6:30, maybe closer to 7 o'clock. I stayed around. I was there for support for other people that knew him.
We're told that because it was so close to the event, people actually heard the explosion. Did you experience that?
I didn't hear the explosion because I was kind of close to where the DJ was playing music.
Okay.
But when they took off, I heard the exhaust. I heard them driving around.
Zahar, can I ask you a question?
A minute.
One of the theories we just talked about is that it could have been possibly a race of something planned where they all left to go do this loop. Did you hear anything like that, or was there any notion it was a race?
No, they were the only car that took off.
Oh, so they left on their own.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Zahar. Yeah, I mean, look, like we said, the possible street race is something police are investigating. They have not found that we know of any evidence of that at this point. And the people that we are speaking to, we've spoken to a lot of people close to Paul, close to Roger, and they are very familiar with this car, and that is not your average car. This is like Ryan said earlier, this is the closest thing to an actual, like an Indy race car that you would see on the street. What it's able to do, it's $500,000, and it is an incredible piece of machinery that not just anyone should be behind the wheel of. And a lot of their friends have said that Roger was an excellent driver. One of Roger's friends actually joins us right now. He is also a very famous race car driver, Jack Baldwin, and we have him on the phone right now. Jack, how are you doing?
Hey, man, I'm well, as well as I can be doing today. Rough weekend.
Yeah, very rough. So, Jack, can you tell us what was? Have you been in that car? And had you ever spoken to Roger about driving this car and the challenges of driving this car?
Well, I've driven one of those cars, a Carrera GT. It's a great car. It's a wonderful car. It's built by Porsche and very expensive. I gave my daughter a ride in it. I thought it drove great. It was fast, but it certainly drove like a Porsche. So it wasn't it didn't give me any feeling of anything. It didn't make me nervous. It felt very, very good. So
of course, you're a professional driver, so everything feels that way to you.
Well, yes and no, but at the same time, being a professional driver, if a car is not solid or it's a little bit nervous or, it's not underneath you, I'll feel that very quickly.
Jack, what would you say to people who think that obviously police have already said that speed was definitely a factor here. It seems to when you first hear about it that this may have been a case of a joyride that just went horribly. And is that something that Roger would do, go out in a car like this and drive too fast?
Yeah, that doesn't sound like. I mean, I could see Roger and Paul jumping in the car and saying, "Hey, let's take the Porsche for a ride." I could see him doing that. I can't see Roger being, going too far with that. I just can't see that. He wasn't that kind of guy. He was that kind of driver. You know, some drivers are a little bit, you know, they tear up a lot of equipment. Roger didn't. And, you know, he had his wits about him. And you know, he's certainly aware of fast cars and knew how to drive them and knew how to handle them, manage them, stuff like that. He respected it. I don't see that. I don't see them turning into irresponsible, let's go crazy and let's drive this car well beyond its limit. That's not the Roger. That's not the Roger I know.
It would be out of character.
Way out of character. Way out of character.
Jack, we've got to run, but I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us and share your knowledge about Roger. And I know it's a difficult time for you right now.
Yeah, we'll miss him dearly, and I appreciate you guys giving me a few minutes to talk about what a great guy he was, and certainly Paul too. And you know, thanks again. See you.
All right, thanks.
All right. Yeah, man.
So we are going to, obviously, we're going to be talking a lot more about this later in the show, and we want to hear from you guys also. I mean, I think the thing that really shocked everyone and shook everyone up was the fact that, I mean, he's only 40 years old. And actually, you know, we should say we got one of the producers of this Fast and Furious 7, which they're in the middle of shooting right now. Got him at the airport last night. I just want to play this for you real quick. But there's a lot of question as to whether or not the movie will continue.
How do you make the movie?
Moritz, right?
Is production going to go forward? You don't know? Will you do it to honor his memory, or do you think the cast and crew just can't even?
Right now, we'll deal with that all later.
See, they're in a tough position, and you should know they were scheduled to shoot. Paul was supposed to be on set on Tuesday, shooting some critical scenes there, and we kind of clearly that is going to at the very least be postponed. Universal Studios still talking over what to do and how to go forward with the movie, if at all. All right, we are going to take a break. When we come back, and like I said, we will talk later in the show more about Paul Walker and this horrible case and the investigation into it. But when we come back, we're going to talk about country music star Luke Bryan and some shocking photos we got. Luke Bryan behind the wheel, drinking and driving, but it is not what you think, and in fact, it is 100% legal. We will explain when we come right back. You are watching TMZ Live.